Welcome to You Decide. I'm your host, Errol Lewis. We are coming down the home stretch. Early voting is underway, so whenever you are seeing this, it's probably Election Day. If you're a New York City Democratic primary voter, the time is now for you to decide. We have a lot of late-breaking news. There was the arrest and fast release of one of the candidates. The city controller, Brad Lander, got locked up by ICE agents in the middle of trying to sort of be a witness and try to support some of the migrants who are going through it with ICE agents. It was an unexpected blast of publicity. All of the other candidates came down. They pushed for him to come out. The governor came down. A lot of noise. There's going to be a lot of twists and turns between now and the end. But again, the primary voting is underway. If you're an early voter like me, because you don't like waiting on lines, now's the time to do it. Anyway, to help make sense of where we are going in these closing hours of the campaign, and it's less than 200 hours until this is all over, folks, we've got Gerson Borrero. He's laughing at me. He is a noted commentator. He's a New York 1 political commentator. He hosts a radio show. He's been doing that for a long, long time. He's a former editor-at-large at City and State, and he is a former editor-in-chief of El Diario, La Prensa. He is a legend, he is a friend, and he is my guest this week. Great to see you.
Great seeing you, a legend in my own mind, but you know, we make a living that way.
And I should have mentioned, actually, we used to, and you still come on our TV show every Wednesday, and we used to have a very unusual segment that actually predated my time here.
Correct.
When you were on the Political Rundown with one Curtis Sliwa.
Can't believe that we were on for 13 years with him. It was supposed to, he said, we're not going to be on for 3 weeks. It lasted 13 years, and now here I am, like, now 26 years since the segment started. I got to do a shout out to, he's going to hate me, Michael Nitsky, who used to be here. He's the one that said, come on, and you're going to do this. And I said, but he says, I don't want you to be an expert. Just say what's on your mind, just like other New Yorkers. And he's the one that encourages this kind of behavior.
Okay.
So, Michael, it's on you.
Okay, so we'll blame him, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Okay, very good. We wanted to get some perspective for our audience who were trying to make up their minds. And is this your first time on the podcast, by the way?
Yes, it is. It is the first time. Thank you for thinking of me. This is appropriate, by the way. This is a perfect time for me.
Well, you know, I was going through my notes, and I normally look back at the last appearance so I can kind of get some continuity. And I was like, maybe we never had him on. But you and I have talked about it so much, and you helped me shape this whole thing. So
then don't give away the trade secrets
okay,
there.
No. Well, look, let's start at the beginning. You have said from the beginning that this is Andrew Cuomo's race to lose, that he's going to win the primary. You believe he's going to actually win the general as well. He's got more campaign funds. He's got more government experience. He's got more name recognition than all the other candidates combined. He also comes with a considerable amount of baggage, what the consultants call baggage. How do you assess all of that and conclude that it's not going to stop him from going to Gracie Mansion?
Because of the field of candidates. I do not want to specifically insult anyone in particular. It's a weak field of candidates. I'm saying this general compared to his resume and the fact that it is Cuomo. This is not a name that popped out of like Mamdani, but all due respect to him also. But this is a name that's been involved, as you well know, 40-something years, 4.5 decades of, Cuomo. I'm almost sure I started voting for his father or against him in many circumstances. I think one election I just out of concern of the way that he was running. I think the second term I just voted for Pierre. There was a guy named
Renfrey. I remember that
yes,
guy.
I voted just out of because I'm an independent.
Right.
So just general election, he did something. It was the time that he made a stupid remark about Puerto Ricans. It was misconstrued. Puerto Ricans coming here without shoes. It really just pissed me off. And it wound up that I voted against him, just not that I thought, I think that votes are so important. Either you reward or punish someone. With regards to Andrew Mark Cuomo, AMC, I just felt it was November 11th of 2023. I was in San Juan, Puerto Rico, Summers Conferences, when I first sort of put these things together. And I started telling people, including elected officials, among them some statewide elected officials, that I thought he was going to make a run. They all thought I was crazy. He's not going to run. He's done with politics. And I just kept checking. And when I came back, Errol, I said that he would actually run There was no thinking. I know now that he wasn't even thinking about that. So I just started talking to people. And the more I polled people, he said, well, if he got in, he has a chance. And then, people in my friend, and that's how I've gotten to this point. I have no polls that I did then. I don't have, I'm not a brujo. I'm not...
And this isn't a tip. This is the analysis is different from a tip. This is your own analysis.
My own analysis of what I was seeing. And of course, we were seeing really the melting brain of Eric Adams, who we had a lot of hope for. I've known Eric for a long time, as you have. We thought he would never run for mayor. He was just a disaster from the beginning. And 196 days from this point, which is what he's got left in his term to December 31st of this year, 2025, he'll be gone. In 196 days, he will be history. We know he's not going to get reelected. We know he would have been clobbered in the Democratic primary, and that's why he went, the option of going as an independent in November. I don't know who's been feeding him stuff. It must be Donald Trump. But then again, Donald Trump got reelected, so what do I know?
Well, I was going to say, there's a November scenario we'll get to in a couple of minutes where Eric Adams, I think, is, in fact, viable. Maybe not compelling.
Really? You
maybe
think
not
that?
Likely. Yeah, we'll get into that in a minute.
Great.
But just to sort of fill people in on Andrew Cuomo, people may think, he's been around for a while and his father was governor a while ago. But let's put it in perspective.
Sure.
Andrew Cuomo was involved in the 1977 mayoral primary when his father ran. He was involved in the 1982 successful campaign for governor. Probably was involved in the race for lieutenant governor 4 years prior to that. So he's been involved in, 7 statewide campaigns that succeeded. 3 for his father, 3 for himself, 1 term as attorney general that he ran. So this is somebody who has been through this to a very, very extensive history. He really knows how this stuff works.
And this is a campaign that he's actually running. He's actually running this one. There are those that after he was...
It's normally considered a mistake, by the way. Candidates should not be running the campaign.
But he was successful in running 2 other campaigns for himself and the ones for his father. He didn't run after the 2 re-election campaigns as he was governor. So, and you can check this out, folks. It's just, I've known the man since 1981.
Right.
And not under the best of circumstances. He investigated Angelo Falcón, the late Angelo Falcón, when we had the Institute for Puerto Rican Policy, and, he was Angelo was such a brain, and he thought that they were doing damage. We did a study on Latino labor force in state government, which, really hit hard. Not Mario Cuomo, but rather the whole, Bernstein, I think Carol Bernstein was the actual head of that office division, and we met with her. And Angelo Falcón, for those of you can pick him up, and he established the Institute for Puerto Rican Policy.
Legend.
And he also helped a lot. By the way, by doing the data, he also found he had this is what these analyses do, and he had to look at the Black community representation and also the Asian community. I've met Asians tell me, Angelo Falcón did this for us because we didn't know the numbers, and he threw it all in. So having said that, Andrew Cuomo was hurting his father. So Andrew Cuomo, this is the side of him that this doesn't take crap. He is a hands-on kind of guy. He wound up thinking that Angelo Falcón, his father, this is Angelo Falcón Jr., that he had a record. So it turns out that in Brooklyn, his father had a bodega. He sold numbers. He was once arrested. So he thought they had a great deal. We go then, when we saw that he was investigating, we go to meet with Wayne Barrett. Joe Conason was in there also, Bill Bastone, Jack Newfield.
Investigative journalists.
And we took it to them, and that's how they started noticing the Institute. But, so it isn't like I've been friends with Andrew. I've known him since 1981. So I know the flaws, I know the strengths. On the other hand, with Puerto Ricans in particular, we're very appreciative people, and we'll never forget what he did during Maria. He was there the next day. And he did a lot, up to the tune of $200 million of New York State money that eventually was reimbursed to the state by FEMA. There was no guarantees they would. So that's the kind of, it's kind of weird, it's kind of strange, but this is the commonality, and we have it. Also, when he was HUD secretary and the things he did also that in terms of dealing with Hurricane Georgia, so he knows our community, he knows the Dominican Republic, a lot of Latinos. So,
I went with him on one of those trips to Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria. It was one of those one-day trips where we left at about 7 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, straight to San Juan, visited a couple of people, went to visit some of the frontline workers who were restoring power and other utilities, thanked all of them, it meant a lot to them. These guys were working under very difficult circumstances. Went out into the countryside, met a couple of people, looked at how things were going, people throwing their arms around him and so forth. Back to the airport, on the plane, was home for dinner. That's the good side of Andrew Cuomo. He didn't get or take a lot of credit for that, but that's money in the bank for him, politically speaking.
It is, and he's not the kind of person that goes out of state. For example, if he's elected in the infinite wisdom or stupidity of New York voters come next Tuesday, he'll be the candidate. Then in November, he's get elected mayor. One thing, he's a hard worker, obsessive, some would say, but that's his life. That's, what does Andrew do? I mean, I don't think he's ever tried a case. He is an attorney, a lawyer. He was attorney general. And I just think that he's always taken risk in politics. People forget Hochul criticized him now, Governor Hochul, but, he took Hochul out of nowhere because he needed her, and she's become governor now. Who would know? Tish James, they got along fine. As a matter of fact, there's a clip that I looked at before coming here because I've been checking some stuff, and Tish James accompanied him as public advocate to Puerto Rico to work on houses. And there's clips of that. So there's, people just dismiss him. And yet, Nidia Velázquez, la luchadora, she endorsed Mamdani, which is really interesting. And they had a relationship, and she's been in office 32 years.
Well, she has an eye toward the future, right? I mean, she's really kind of been the leader and mentor for a whole generation of Latino politicians.
Oh, she's protecting her political behind.
Could be.
Okay.
Could be. I noticed this, though. I was looking at some polls, and, you have to be careful with the polls, but they tell us what they tell us. No poll has showed Andrew Cuomo at 50%, which is what you need in order to win. That suggests that most primary voters either want somebody else, at least initially, or haven't made up their minds. I went back and looked at the last Marist College poll. Marist is a quality place, a quality polling institute.
A lot of integrity.
I know Lee Miringoff for a long, long time. Anyway, June 2021, the final Marist poll projected Eric Adams with 56%, Catherine Garcia with 44%. That 12-point lead vanished a week later because when the dust settled after primary day, it was like less than 2%.
Right.
So there's room here for some unexpected twists and turns. What do you make, though? I mean, you mentioned them and describe them in general as a weak field, but let's talk about the candidates individually. How do you think Brad Lander has been doing? We're talking a day after he got arrested down at Federal Plaza by ICE agents. That gave him, I saw international news coverage of that. So that can't hurt at this stage of the game, right?
The factor is here, and to make your point even stronger is the amount of undecided voters that we don't speak enough about. We look at these polls, and it's because from the beginning, Andrew Cuomo has led these polls, and I've never seen that happen. It's another phenomena. I mean, from day one, even before he had decided that he would run, and I know it took him a long time, and we're all waiting. He led in the polls. He's still leading. So if it weren't for such a high, and I don't know if you looked at that too, the high undecided voters, and right now, that could work in Brad Lander's favor because I don't think New Yorkers know him well enough. The comptroller spot is really like, your political career is dead. We've known that. Abe Beam was the last, and from Brooklyn, and he was like forced into the mayoralty when the city was bankrupt. I'm talking about the 70s. That's demonstrating my age, not no reflection on Errol. But the fact is that I think you make a point. It could happen. I think it's going to favor. But the other candidate in the field, what has stunned me about this election, and not too many things surprise me, because not that I know it all, why is Adrienne Adams not doing better? I know people say that she didn't, she came into the race late, that she's Tish James' candidate. Well, she decided she's in there. She is more qualified than most of the people there, and they're all hombres, men. So how is this? I questioned the other day, I got into a little trouble. I questioned the sisterhood of people that are endorsing Mamdani, who is a male, against a black woman who is qualified, 63, I think she is already, mature. She's done all kinds of stuff. In terms of her knowledge and what she brings, and she knows how a budget works. She has done 3, going on her 4th, not as many as the 11 that Andrew Cuomo. But I'm saying those are the 2 more qualified, and then of course Scott Stringer. Scott Stringer is like dead. His political career is over. Brad Lander, I think, shouldn't have been in this race. I think he would have done another 4 years as comptroller. And he has a certain style that we don't need right now. He looks like a little too soft. Yesterday was good for him because people, this guy could face, Donald Trump, and he'll be that. But not really, because he didn't show. He was very, very professional, respectful, even as they were pushing him. They would have had to handcuff me if it was me, because I'd be, people, most New Yorkers, you don't get pushed around like that.
I was going to say, at a minimum, I'd have been talking a lot of junk. I'd have been talking a lot of trash.
And they would have probably, handcuffed me. Yeah, exactly. And they still have charges on me. But you did okay, Brad. You did okay.
And then, so those 3, who I consider, I guess, sort of the next tier, they tend to clump together. At least one poll showed that Adrian Adams would do better against Andrew Cuomo than Zohran Mamdani in November. It was sort of a hypothetical.
Right.
But to bring up the whole November question, there's a scenario where Andrew Cuomo wins the Democratic primary. Zohran Mamdani, especially if he does well in the primary, maybe doesn't win it, but gets the Working Families Party line, so it's essentially a rematch with fewer candidates in the mix and a winner-take-all race. And in a scenario like that, Eric Adams, with his, whatever it is, 20% support, 22% support, starts to look kind of interesting. And he is going around telling people, I know this for a fact, he's going around telling people that's the scenario he expects, that's the scenario he wants, and that's the scenario that he thinks could lead to his reelection.
I hope he not paying too much money for that stuff he's smoking, because, come on now. You forget it's perfect. I know you're doing it intentionally to provoke me in this sense.
No. I'm just telling you what's happening.
But you forget it's a general election.
Yeah.
That means that Republicans get to vote.
Yes.
When they see a character like Eric Adams, I don't want him again. Damn, the hell with him.
Even if he snuggled up to Trump?
Even if they won't, because New Yorkers are a different breed here. And let me ask you this. The super liberals, those that are completely against Andrew Cuomo, they're going to go with Eric Adams?
No, they're going to go with Mamdani in this scenario.
Right. And what happens then? So those are going to go. What do you think is going to happen to Republicans? Who are they going to vote for? They're going to vote for Andrew Cuomo, because despite everything else, they know that he can actually fix the things. In other words, he's talking, but he'll stand up to Trump, but he'll take care of all this crime. He's going to go in. He's not going to put up with this.
So our friend Curtis Sliwa, who is in fact the Republican nominee, there's no primary, so he's going to be on the ballot in November. He's watching this right now. You're saying he's not going to hold on to the Republicans?
He's got to let go. He's got to let go of the red beret. They're too tight around his head, and wearing the satin red jackets. Listen, Curtis, I love you. We did a show together. This isn't a show. We can't have a clown. With all due respect, he's going to call me on this, but New Yorkers aren't ready for that. He speaks the tough language, but we know he's flawed, and he's done things that actually New Yorkers remember, and he plays this game. I'll never forgive him for playing off immigrants, because I know that's not his position.
Right.
And what he's done, and I've told him, it isn't that I'm doing it public. We had conversations because we're friends, and at New York One, we threw each other with everything. I wanted to smack him sometimes, and some people out on the street told me, "Why don't you just punch him, brother?" And but the fact is that he is a show. He's a character. I did a radio program, so I understand him. But come on, Curtis, come on.
Okay, we're going to take a short break for audio, but we're going to keep going on YouTube. Before that, though, I want to give you a little bit of information about the elections. Get ready to vote with your personalized voter guide on the Spectrum News app. We will provide all of the information you need prior to heading to the polls, where to vote, a preview of your ballot, where the candidates stand on the issues. Scan the QR code or tap on the voter guide in the app. You can find all the essential voting information you need before casting your ballot. And I will tell you, I'm not just promoting it. I actually have used it. I found out that my early voting spot was right around the corner from my house, which is really very nice. So check that out when you get a chance.
Can we get your number 1, 2, and 3?
Me?
Yeah, tell us. No, you're not gonna. Oh, come on, man! You gotta give me something.
Oh, no, you don't.
No, come on, man! Come on, this will be already over.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Yeah.
Let's talk about alliances, because that is a new phenomenon. We know that Zohran Mamdani and Brad Lander have cross-endorsed each other, and they did it more than a week before the primary. So they're doing it much earlier than we've seen before. So this is on one level kind of a new phenomenon. The other alliance we've seen is Mamdani with Michael Blake, another candidate. We know what that brings to Mamdani. I'm not sure what it does for Michael Blake. We saw Jessica Ramos. I guess this is a substitute for dropping out of the race. She hasn't really been campaigning, but she did say she wants people to vote for Andrew Cuomo if they don't vote for her. So that almost qualifies as a semi-alliance. This is going to be a new feature of politics, isn't it?
It's a new feature for Working Families Party, who probably is already redacted, has a draft form of what it is they're going to say. Oh, we never expected Mamdani or any of our candidates to win. We just want to, advance the numbers at the polls, and the cause and getting New Yorkers. But we're ready. So they're going to play. They're going to claim winning anyway. Working Families Party is going to play. They have
a ballot line. They're still competitive in November if they want to be.
Right. They want to be. They could pull something off. But let's see who does better. Would they go with Mamdani if he actually loses track and get another candidate that actually does better? For example, Brad Lander. Are they going to switch around that? Because allegedly Mamdani has all these young people. Do they vote? So I'm not too sure until the election of the 24th is called, maybe 10 days after. By the way, how many days is it going to take in your estimation?
We're going to have some reporting on that. There are a couple of technical things that are involved. First of all, I think they don't even start the process of going through the ranked choice iterations until after all of the absentee and mail-in ballots are in. So for the first, 5 to 7 business days, nothing is going to happen. And then they're going to open up all of the mail. They're going to open up all of the affidavit ballots. They're going to open up and, allow for any challenges. Then they'll have the numbers that they work with. And I think that's when they start doing the iterations.
But by the way, I started looking at the 2021, which is the first time we use ranked choice voting.
Yes.
And believe me, save your time because you can't compare both. It's a different set of
that was during the pandemic.
Yeah, and exactly. Different sets of circumstances.
Yeah.
So the Working Families Party can say all they want. I don't think they're going to have the winning candidate. I think it strengthens the party. No cross endorsements. I'm going to mention this because I've talked to different people. I mentioned it to you on Sunday at an event, a memorial event we were at. And I'll say for Tom Robbins, we miss you, Tom. Sorry about that. But I got to tell you that I checked this out. Adrienne Adams is not cross-endorsing, and she
with
won.
Mamdani.
With Mamdani.
Right.
She's not cross-endorsing.
He clearly wants that. He told his people to go and raise money for her, as a matter of fact.
He did before this, until... And I'll claim credit for this one because I put out there, I did it on your show, and then I wrote about it. The fact that I believe that Adrienne Adams wasn't going to do well, she wasn't going to win the nomination, but that she would be the perfect candidate for Kathy Hochul. I really believe that she is the type of person that could work well in a statewide ticket and could salvage the 2026 primary, if there is any primary, and be an excellent ticket for New York. Kathy Hochul doesn't do well in the 5 boroughs. She would probably lose if she doesn't get a personality. And most people tell me, she's speaker. Speakers aren't known in the city. But as you well know, if they can actually get Delgado out, because he's running lieutenant, the actual in name only, the lieutenant governor right now, I think it can work. He could be convinced to get out before the year is out. Then she is appointed by the governor. And I think she make an excellent person in the position of lieutenant, and it's not another male that's going to disappoint all of us. I think she's a responsible person, serious figure, and known in the city. People say, oh, so speakers of the city council are known. Yeah, but she has a chance to get to know. Kathy Hochul could then let her work the 5 boroughs.
So Adrian Adams is a viable candidate.
Absolutely. And I heard
next year.
This year already. Well, yes.
Next year. So tie it back to the current race.
Yes, to the current. She's doing it well enough for Kathy Hochul not to ignore that. Now I hear, and this is bochinche. It's always bochinche until it's confirmed. But I got it on 2 good sources that this is why you won't even see Adrian Adams photographing with Mamdani. And if I'm saying it wrong, she can come on the show, so can Mamdani, but you will not see a photo of them together because, as I understand it, Governor Hochul does not want that photo to come up next year if she actually brings it on as lieutenant governor. It gets very complicated. This is what politics is incredible. This is like some marriages that aren't working out, and they may work out if they go to counseling. This is part of what I'm talking about. So,
but now they're
this is serious business. I got this information.
I mean, okay. So I know there's at least one photo of them together because when the Working Families Party put out their list of who they wanted, it included Mamdani, Adrian Adams, Scott Stringer, I think, made the list, or it was Brad Lander that made the list, and one other.
But you haven't seen another photo since.
No,
and
that's
you won't
true.
See, and she will not cross
they shot a little video. It was like the the Wizard of Oz, right? The 4 of them linking arms and walking down the yellow brick road behind City Hall.
Or the Pied Piper bringing a rat. No, okay.
So what you've heard is that it would displease Kathy Hochul
because she would have
a cross endorsement.
Because she knows that the Jewish community would not be pleased. Honestly, that's what I heard. It may not be true, but I'm going on the 2 sources that I have on this.
What do you make of the fact that there is so much antipathy from the New York Times editorial board, from the business community, and by that I mean the mega corporations? I know for a fact they do not want Zohran Mamdani. They don't care what else happens.
Because
why is that, do you think?
His inexperience.
No, but that's not the reason.
No, that's
not the reason.
Okay, so what do you want to throw in? What will please you for me to come out of my mouth? That he's a Muslim? I don't think that's the reason. I think that it goes to finances.
These same people backed Eric Adams, and he had been Brooklyn Borough president, which is a staff of 30 that does almost nothing. Right? So, I mean, there's an experience gap there, too, right? And that didn't seem to come up at all.
I'm going to say this, and some people are going to be offended. Eric is not as smart as Mamdani. Right. And he's double the age.
Right.
So this is a young man with potential. Just right now, this is in his time, and they're afraid of him. The business sector hasn't pumped in. Mike Bloomberg, who's not a fan of Andrew Cuomo, will pump in $5 million and independent expenditures to support him. They have big egos. They wanted all the credit for everything.
But what do you think they think Mamdani could do?
Destroy the city. Destroy the city. They really believe that.
Here's the thing. I've heard 2 objections, and to me they don't fit together. They don't make sense. One is he's a hard left socialist. He doesn't believe in capitalism. He's going to tear down our institutions. He's going to undermine the system. And then I hear he's inexperienced. He can't run anything. He's never organized. You can fit his whole staff in an elevator or whatever the ad says.
Right.
Those 2 things are not the same, right?
No, they're not.
Either he's a skilled, scary menace, or he's just a bumbling kid. But he can't be both, right?
But you combine both, and people that want him for one reason or the other will latch on to that one. But I'll give you something that is simple to understand, beyond the politics. I was 33. I'm 74 now. You were 33.
Oh God.
Okay.
Don't remind me.
Okay. So you think you know what I'm saying?
Well,
we've learned, and I'm still learning how much I don't know.
Well, I was going to say, I say, don't remind me, because when I was 33, I was running a multi-million-dollar credit union that we started in Central Brooklyn. I was given way more responsibility than Assemblyman Mamdani has right now. And I think back then, was I ready to run the city back then? I wasn't really ready to run the credit union. You know?
And then you ran for city council.
Yes, I did.
Right? And you tried to politics because you thought you could do more. Not your personal ambition, because you've done very well, thank God. I think you're pleased with your life and the way it's turned out.
The voters saved me from what would have been
the voters saved in their infinite wisdom, right? So,
right.
So in a serious manner, you look at this. I have a 41-year-old daughter. I have a 27-year-old son. You have a son. But you don't have to go beyond.
I love your daughter to death, but I don't know if she'd be ready.
No, she wouldn't
to
be.
Run the city
No,
right now.
and Andrew Cuomo, the first time he got elected was 40, if I'm not mistaken. He's now 67. He's taken a lot of heart. You want a proven... I'm not going back to Andrew Cuomo. What has Mamdani done that has proven him? He goes up. He says he'll take on Donald Trump because he goes and confronts for the shot that he's being... I mean, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. We're not stupid, you know? Come on.
Well, I mean...
So I don't like this maneuvering he does, and most people don't. And again, just think of the time you were 33.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, that's... Yeah. But let me give you another perspective. One is, and this is based on what the candidate, has said. What Mamdani has said is, number one, he says, we've got, the number keeps going up. He says at this point they have like 46,000 volunteers that are out there that are being, quote unquote, managed on some level. And that they've knocked on 1 million doors and so forth and so on. It reminds me of, and you got to be careful with these analogies, but it reminds me of what we heard from a former state senator named Barack Obama, when people were saying, you haven't done anything, you're a state senator representing a piece of Chicago. How are you ready to now step on the national stage? And the answer was, look at the movement that I am both a part of, helping to build and leading. And, there are some things that are more important than where you sit on an organizational chart or whether or not you have all of the right PowerPoints and your meetings always start on time. There's something called political leadership, and that's what I'm bringing to the party.
It was not the same for Barack Obama because you remember that he did go through the Senate and had some mentors and people guiding him and saying, we're going to do this, including Ted Kennedy, like senator. Yes. He also had, there was a guy who was speaker at that point from Nevada who was helping him.
Sure.
I mean, there was a lot of people just bringing all that natural ability that
the raw talent, they honed it, they helped it.
Sure. Mamdani doesn't have this. What you have is an AOC standing on Saturday. People impressed. By the way, there were no King protests all over him, gatherings of hundreds of thousands of people throughout the United States. And we go crazy. Political media, oh my God, I've never seen anything. What a movement. Well, it could have been, a quarter, half of them out there. AOC stands and she says 67-year-old Andrew Cuomo, the old people. But she runs around with an 83-year-old Bernie. Yeah. Come on. Come on now.
Well,
come on now. And then with Nydia Velázquez, who's 72 again. I go back to Nydia. What, is she young? She's been 32 years in the Congress?
Two things with that. One is right. I mean, first of all,
it's insulting.
There's a generational thing going on here for sure, which is interesting. But, if the leadership had decided to embrace, or if you want to use the word co-opt, Mamdani, I think that would have been a perfectly logical thing to do compared with this campaign of vilification and negative campaigning that they're throwing millions of dollars into. I would have much rather have them pull him off to the side or whatever it may be and just say, like, listen, we know talent when we see it.
Correct.
You got it.
He does.
We're not going to take that away from you. You've got some ideas, and it's going to be your world and you and the young people, so you can run the world however you want to. When you get the reins of power, let us show you how to do it. Let's have a smooth transition to whatever the future is going to look like. Now, this is me saying pie in the sky. I'm sitting on the sidelines. I don't run a corporation here, and I'm not part of any political establishment. But it seems to me that would be a logical way to handle somebody like him, as opposed to saying, you're a Muslim. We're going to show you with your tunic on and make your beard look darker, and we're going to try and scare everybody and tell everybody that you've got no future, because that's the one thing that he can refute. He's like, you can't say I'm not the future because I am. True. You can't say I'm scary and demonic because I'm charismatic and I can smile and everybody can see I'm not a threat. So then, what we end up with is confusion rather than clarity as everybody's going to the polls.
Well, he could have dealt with that. He has parents, people that are older that are guiding him and said, look, you got to tone down this because it's offensive. I have no doubt. I want to see, in my lifetime, if it was up to me, I would limit the age of a presidential candidate. 65 is the oldest you can be to become president. And if it were up to me, one term of 6 years, I would change the whole thing. I think we get too much. 8 years is too much, even with term limits.
Sure.
1 year or 6, serve the nation well, get the hell out, go retire. So I believe 35 is a good age to start. 65 the oldest. I would change that automatically.
Interesting.
You know, so
Yeah.
I'm all for young people. I've said it. There's two people say, oh, 70. No, 65, you already, because I've been through 65. I'm 74. I'll be 75 soon in November. So I know what changes are. Not that I'm, losing anything, but there is a stamina issue. There's a thing of already, what you think you can do in what's left of life, and you want to do certain things. I'm all for younger people, but you can't be stupid and start insulting people. I'm sorry. And it is insulting. When I hear AOC standing and really, well, what do I do as an independent 74-year-old when I got to vote for your candidate?
Yeah,
You're going to do that to me, sister? I love you.
No.
Your Boricua.
It doesn't make any sense. Right. She has lovely things to say about Nancy Pelosi, Nydia Velasquez, and Bernie Sanders.
But they all old.
But if it's Andrew Cuomo, it's like, hey,
he's no
old.
good at and he's younger than, you know what I'm saying? That's wrong.
Right.
And what does she say about Adrian Adams? Does she also feel that 63 Adrian? Come on.
Listen, thank you very much, my friend. Great talking with you. And we don't bet money on these things, but I look forward to talking with you when all
bet
the
a cafe.
dust settles.
People know I drink cafe. I'll bet a cafe with you. How's that?
Okay,
there you go.
Enough.
You got coffee. You didn't even give me coffee.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Errol.
Do you want more conversations with the people who are shaping the future of New York City and beyond? Check out our New York One podcast channel in the description. And hit subscribe to let Spectrum News be your resource for balanced, in-depth political coverage, elections, and issues